Take care, everybody. Here's CBS.
This is the CBS Evening News. I'm Charles Kuralt, sitting in for Dan Rather. Good evening. President Reagan's Chief of Staff, Howard Baker, resigned today, effective the 1st of next month. Bill Plant reports.
Former Senator Howard Baker is the man many credit with rescuing the Reagan presidency from the chaos of the Iran-Contra scandal.
We're going to miss him, of course. He has served very well, but he had his reasons for what he's had to do.
Baker's resignation produced speculation that he is interested in the vice presidency or involved in some White House dispute. But those close to him insist the Chief of Staff's reasons are strictly personal. His wife has been ill for a long time. Both she and Baker's stepmother are hospitalized in Tennessee. Baker found it necessary to spend more and more time away from the White House. He will be replaced by his deputy, Kenneth Duberstein, a 44-year-old former lobbyist who served during Mr. Reagan's first term as White House liaison with Capitol Hill. In the Senate chamber, there was high praise for Howard Baker from his former colleagues on both sides of the aisle.
So I would just say to my good friend Howard Baker, Godspeed, best wishes, and good luck.
He has performed great service, not only for the president, but also for his country.
What he has done, he took a shattered institution and he restored stability.
Those were tough times, February a year ago.
Baker came to the White House when Donald Reagan was fired during the fallout from the Iran-Contra affair. White House insiders say that Baker calmed things down, restored order, and generated momentum toward arms control. He often insisted that he would stay to the end.
I will be there to lock the door and turn out the light.
But today, in his letter of resignation, Baker said he had accomplished most of what he came to do. And though his announcement was a surprise, he may have telegraphed his intention last week.
I do not have any plans to be a candidate for anything. What I do intend to do is to go back to Tennessee and to be very happy.
Baker did say today that he would accept the vice presidential nomination if it were offered, but he made it plain that he doesn't expect to be asked. Bill Plant, CBS News, the White House.
As part of a wide investigation of possible fraud by defense contractors, federal agents showed up with search warrants today at dozens of locations. Rita Braver reports one of those locations was right inside the Pentagon.
In an extremely unusual move, the office of a high-ranking official in the Air Force's Tactical Weapons Section was under armed guard today. At the same time, FBI and Naval Investigative Service agents were serving search warrants at United Technologies in Washington, D.C., and at the offices of defense contractors and consultants in 30 other locations around the country. The FBI issued a statement saying the searches are in connection with a 2-year nationwide investigation regarding possible widespread fraudulent activity within the Department of Defense's contracting process. The investigation focuses on defense consultants and contractors as well as U.S. government officials allegedly involved in fraud and bribery. One consultant whose office was searched is Melvin Paisley, a former Assistant Navy Secretary. The Pentagon refused to discuss the searches.
I have no comment on any aspect of this thing. You're really going to have to talk to the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
But the warrants were served at some of the nation's biggest military suppliers, McDonnell Douglas in St. Louis, Unisys in Minnesota and New York, Northrop in California. Sources familiar with the investigation say it involves a massive system of kickbacks, fixed bids, and payoffs for information. So far, no one has been arrested and no charges have been brought, but indictments are expected soon. And knowledgeable sources say some congressional offices may come under investigation as well. Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
President Reagan got some welcome news today, just in time for the weekend economic summit in Toronto. The government reported that the U.S. trade deficit in April was the lowest in 3.5 years. This news boosted the dollar overseas, and on Wall Street, the Dow Jones rose to its highest level since the crash last October. Business correspondent Ray Brady has the story.
They were celebrating on Wall Street today, and not only because it's Flag Day. In brokerage houses around these marchers, they were bidding up stock prices. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rising more than 25 points to a post-crash high on heavy volume because of the latest trade figures from Washington.
These trade figures were very positive. They indicate a decline in imports, which is very good.
In March, the U.S. bought $11.75 billion more from foreign nations than we sold to them, a gap that narrowed to just under $10 billion in April, the lowest since the end of 1984. The U.S. didn't export more abroad. The improvement came from Americans buying fewer foreign goods. Reason? The lower dollar has pushed up prices of foreign products. So while dealers in imported cars are offering discounts, dealers in U.S. makes say customers are coming to them.
Their product costs more, and our product costs a little less, so we're looking a lot better.
But even though more Americans are buying American, there's another side to the trade coin, say some experts.
So it means that we may be reducing our trade deficit or stabilizing it, but we're doing so essentially by reducing our standard of living.
That's because higher prices for foreign goods mean fewer Americans may be able to afford imported cars or other goods from abroad. Some economists use that point to argue that the nation must do still more to sell more products abroad. Cutting back here isn't enough. But most say that today's figures do show the country's moving in the right direction. Charles?
All right, thank you. A U.S. government expert told the International AIDS Conference in Stockholm today that people who carry the AIDS virus are fighting almost impossible odds. He said most, and maybe all, will develop the disease itself. Most of the attention was given in Stockholm today to early results from the first trial of an American AIDS vaccine. Medical correspondent Susan Spencer is covering the conference.
Lance Clem, a volunteer in the U.S. trial of the first AIDS vaccine, has high expectations.
I hope this vaccine will be the end of probably one of the most devastating epidemics the United States has seen in my generation.
Clem is one of 60 volunteers in the vaccine trials, and in fact, here in Stockholm tomorrow, researchers will announce that 2/3 of those who got high doses have had an immune response, though it's unclear yet exactly what that means.
We cannot say that they are protected against AIDS. That would be a very premature statement. The only thing we can say at this point is they are developing antibodies that are specific to the AIDS virus.
But the tests have shown that a vaccine made from a piece of the AIDS virus can be given safely, putting to rest at least one early fear that an AIDS vaccine itself might be dangerous. The harder part is discovering whether this or any vaccine actually works, since it would be unethical ever to intentionally expose someone to AIDS just to find out. One reason a vaccine for general use is so far away.
Talking about years of time, and you're talking about the fact that people can avoid getting infected. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to immunize thousands of people and follow them for years.
Another problem, can one vaccine be developed for every possible strain of the AIDS virus?
This is probably the most difficult scientific challenge that the immunologists have faced.
We've seen another encouraging step along what is possibly a long road to an effective AIDS vaccine.
Lance Clem, however, still has high hopes.
We now have as many people infected by the AIDS virus as were killed in Vietnam, actually more than that. I would like to see that come to a real fast halt.
Clem, by the way, was one of the volunteers who showed a promising response. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Stockholm.
The unprecedented setback for the tobacco industry yesterday in a court case involving the death of a smoker has the liquor industry sitting up and taking notice. Bob Faw tells why.
Yesterday's verdict sent shudders through America's giant liquor industry, the next battleground in the product liability war. 43-year-old Ronnie McGuire is suing a liquor company because doctors say alcohol caused McGuire's permanent brain damage.
I didn't know what it could do, and I was drinking pretty good. The alcohol killed themselves. Yeah. And that's what done it. They said that is what done it, alcohol.
Dave Freeman is also suing because he says alcohol destroyed his liver. And these babies, misshapen and retarded, are victims of alcohol too. While pregnant, their mothers drank heavily.
There still is a very significant percentage of our population, I believe, who really is not absolutely aware of the fact that alcohol can damage the unborn baby.
From lives snuffed out by a drunk driver in Kentucky to lives doomed at birth, alcohol is America's biggest drug problem, contributing to 100,000 deaths every year, 25 times as many as cocaine, heroin, and crack combined. On illegal drugs, the country declares war. On alcohol, it looks the other way.
We're failing to name the most heavily abused drug in our society because clearly it will mean that the industry is going to lose profits.
Now, though, the industry is the target of more than 100 lawsuits charging negligence, arguing that manufacturers knew the product could be dangerous and failed to warn consumers.
People have a right, a legal right, to be aware of the hazards of the products.
Only one U.S. winemaker, Bully Hill in upstate New York, warns users on each bottle that drinking can be dangerous. The legislation requiring labels has been introduced in Congress and several state legislatures.
Why should we treat the drug alcohol any differently than over-the-counter or prescription drugs, which are clearly labeled so that people can know of the consequences of abuse?
We think it'll do a lot of good, just like it's done a lot of good in smoking cigarettes.
They're ineffective.
The liquor lobby, which thus far has been able to kill any legislation, also argues that warning labels could do some harm.
When labels tell you something you already know, you tend to ignore the label, and that's the danger of it. It's a false solution to a real problem.
As the industry digs in, the toll rises, and with it, a groundswell of sentiment asking, if warnings could prevent even one tragedy, why not try them?
I believe it's no more than being truthful with a person that's buying their product.
Yeah, so what happened to them, what happened to me? Wish I'd have known about it before. And like I said, if the label had been on there.
Bob Fall, CBS News, Port Arthur, Texas.
Still to come on the CBS Evening News, contrasting effects of glasnost, Moscow's new openness. Bert Quint on the politics of unhappy Armenians. And Terry Drinkwater on a reunion of happy Eskimos in Siberia.
This is amazing. I could eat this Yoplait 150 for any number of reasons. It only has 150 calories, it has no fat, and it tastes better to me than those fat yogurts. But that's not it. I eat it because I want to get in tune with my body. I want to create a balance between good taste and good for you. And I'm going to get into this French leotard.
If you love fruit on the bottom yogurt, but not all the calories, try Yoplait 150.
These are teeny weeny calories.
Good morning.
Day's looking new and bright.
It's Monday again.
And you're gonna start it right.
Traffic's tied up.
'Cause there's Folgers for you that's decaffeinated too. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Mornings brighten with mountain-grown Folgers decaffeinated. Mountain-grown coffee beans have a more enticing aroma.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Decaffeinated.
Have you ever wondered what a baggage handler might take on vacation? What everyone should take. Samsonite's glutton for punishment.
Now for indigestion, gas, introducing new extra strength Malox Plus. It neutralizes more than any leading antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as new extra strength Malox Plus.
George Bush is already pointing out that Michael Dukakis doesn't have any experience in making foreign policy, and Bush clearly means to make that an issue in the fall campaign. Today, Dukakis tried to deflect that line of attack in an appearance before a pro-NATO group at the State Department. Our chief political correspondent, Bruce Morton, tells how it went.
Dukakis came before the Atlantic Council to give a mostly traditional foreign policy speech. Strong support for the NATO alliance, encourage diversity and freedom in Eastern Europe, continue arms reduction talks. But he would make some changes. Less money for President Reagan's strategic defense initiative, more for conventional defense.
We don't need SDI, we need CDI. We don't need MX missiles running around on railroad cars. We need an anti-tank weapon that can stop Soviet tanks.
Dukakis opposes both the mobile MX and the smaller mobile Midget Man missile. Republicans don't agree.
Why would the Soviets negotiate a START treaty, which he wants to see, which we all want to see, if the negotiating side already is giving up the weapon systems?
Republicans have consistently attacked Dukakis as inexperienced and naive about foreign policy.
His foreign policy views, born in Harvard Yard's boutique,
would cut the muscle of our defense, and I will never do that.
Dukakis tried to diffuse that today, both by presenting a fairly traditional message and by using humor, noting that Ronald Reagan was a governor who took to foreign policy and turning Harvard on a questioner.
You one of those Harvard liberals? How many Harvard liberals do we have in this place, anyway?
Why make a foreign policy speech now? Perhaps to tell this high-class crowd the Atlantic Council is full of foreign policy veterans of past administrations, that they can trust him.
He can say, I'm okay here. I am safe here. This election is based on something else. It's based on change, and it's based on domestic economic change, and I think that's where he will take the election.
Vice President Bush will continue to stress his issues, and U.S.-Soviet relations will be a major one. Dukakis will continue to stress his. So far, the voters think he'd do better dealing with drugs and the economy, and they think those issues are more important. That could change. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Washington.
Two of the Soviet Union's tiniest republics dug in their heels today in a struggle over a patch of land. Mikhail Gorbachev has tried to settle the feud by appointing new leaders for both states, but it hasn't worked, and the crisis is back at the Kremlin gate. Bert Quint has our report.
This Communist Party official took power in Armenia 3 weeks ago. Today, he's leading Armenians on a course that puts him in conflict with the man who gave him his job, Mikhail Gorbachev. Suren Arutyunian has promised these people the Armenian Republic's parliament will back them tomorrow in the dispute that has brought ethnic violence to a remote area of the Soviet Union near the Iranian border. It's a clash between Armenian Christians and Azerbaijani Muslims, and it centers on a small Armenian enclave in the Soviet Republic of Azerbaijan called Nagorno-Karabakh. The Armenians want to live together and have been holding hunger strikes and work stoppages and demonstrating by the tens of thousands, demanding that Nagorno-Karabakh be put under Armenian administration. Moscow is resisting, even though Gorbachev's reforms gave the Armenians the courage to demand the return of what they consider their land, setting off a conflict that has caused many deaths and injuries. Already, repercussions have been felt in Moscow, where Armenians demonstrate at a cemetery every week. 2 days ago, the usually quiet protest here spilled into the center of the Soviet capital. The Armenian demonstrators accused the Soviet media of covering up what they say is the slaughter of Armenians by Azerbaijanis and demanded the truth be told. The unusually restrained treatment police gave these demonstrators reflects Gorbachev's predicament. He wants to calm the Armenians, but if he gives in to their demands, the Azerbaijanis will resist giving up the disputed area. It's more trouble for the Soviet leader when he can least afford it. More ammunition for the enemies of perestroika when the lines are drawn on reform at the party conference that begins in 2 weeks. Bert Quint, CBS News, Moscow.
Even though oil prices are running well below the $18 a barrel target set by OPEC, the oil cartel voted today to extend its current production agreement for another 6 months. As usual, the meeting was stormy. Iraq refused to sign the agreement.
Today, hospitals have more medicines than ever to care for their patients. The one they choose most to relieve pain is Tylenol. Look, last year they dispensed Tylenol 10 times more than the leading aspirin and ibuprofen brands combined. With so many pain relievers to choose from, isn't it reassuring to know the pain reliever hospitals use most is Tylenol? That's a good reason for you and your family to use Tylenol too. Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
It's Lobster Fest time at Red Lobster. We know what you love the most. At our Lobster Fest, we do lobster best. No one else even comes close.
From $8.95, kids just 99 cents.
Have a tempting lobster trio, Mornay, if you're in the mood. Our tails are the best at our Lobster Fest. We know how you love seafood.
Come in this Father's Day weekend for our lobster and shrimp trio, just $11.95.
What's the best kind of fruit? The kind that's fresh, moist, and plump. That's why Sunsweet are my favorite kind of pitted prunes. Moist, plump, and fresh. Sunsweet. because the best prunes are fresh prunes.
The Remington microscreen shaves as close as a blade, or your money back. The first screen shaves incredibly close. The second even closer. Shaves as close as a blade, or your money back. Now, lowest price ever on Remington microscreen rechargeable.
A noted journalist known as a strong supporter of gun control is facing legal difficulties over an incident last night at his home in Washington, a shooting incident. Robert Shackney reports.
Columnist Carl Rowan called police at 2 in the morning. A group of teenagers had scaled his fence and were partying in his swimming pool. What police found when they got there, Rowan had shot and wounded one of the intruders. Rowan told reporters he shot in self-defense just as police arrived. I was confronted by a tall young man, Rowan recounted. I said, "Freeze, I warn you I have a gun." He, the intruder, said, "Oh, hell, I'm coming in." He lunged for me and I fired a warning shot, hitting him in the hand. The wounded youth is 18-year-old Ben Neil Smith, who admits he trespassed, but says, "I was in my underwear soaking wet. I never spoke to him. He had no right to shoot me." Rowan, a liberal columnist and television commentator, is an outspoken advocate of gun control. Society, he wrote 2 years ago, must take steps to limit the availability of pistols. But Rowan, police told CBS News, was using an unregistered handgun, an apparent violation of District of Columbia law, an offense punishable by a 1-year jail term and a $1,000 fine. Rowan says the gun was legal because it belonged to his son, a former FBI agent. Legal experts say authorities will also have to determine whether Rowan was justified in shooting.
You have the right to use deadly force if you actually believe that you are likely to be killed or that you have a threat of serious bodily injury.
Police will refer their findings to the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. If there's any question about the shooting, whether Rowan was justified in pulling the trigger, the matter will go before a grand jury. Robert Shackney, CBS News, Washington.
In Utah today, the redesigned Space Shuttle rocket booster was test-fired in a new $22 million facility designed to simulate some of the stresses and strains of a real liftoff. Engineers said everything appeared normal, but it'll take several days of inspections to know for sure.
Here, you get to keep the sign. Okay, look at that.
When you choose someone to help you sell your home, you want it to be somebody you can trust. Maybe that's why Century 21 is the #1 home selling system in America. We know a whole lot about trust.
Come with us.
Get the picture?
Put your trust in #1. Century 21.
Heartburn again.
Yeah.
You gonna sit there and suffer? You gonna take something?
What do you have?
Riopan Plus 2. It's double strength.
I hope it works fast.
How fast can you get to the medicine cabinet?
In lab tests, Riopan Plus 2 starts neutralizing acid in 10 seconds, and 1 teaspoon neutralizes more acid than 2 teaspoons of regular Maalox or Mylanta. That's twice as strong.
You look better.
You want to go out for a banana split?
You kidding?
Riopan Plus 2, the fast antacid.
This man takes vacations for a living. Don't let him take yours. So don't carry cash. Carry American Express traveler's checks. Don't leave home without them.
Cash or charge?
We interrupt this purchase for a reminder. The Discover card actually pays you cash back for every charge.
It's perfect. I've got to have it.
It pays to Discover.
A group of American Eskimos returned to Alaska today, back from a one-day reunion with Eskimos in nearby Soviet Siberia. For those people, it was a chance to act like a family again. For their neighboring countries, it was a chance to act like good neighbors. Terry Drinkwater reports.
From the moment the visit began, there was an astounding openness in this remote and once closed Siberian city of Providenia. No visas required, and not even passports for some of the Alaskan Eskimos who were reunited here with family they had not seen since the beginning of the Cold War.
Happy to see everybody. Talk to my
For centuries, Siberian and Alaskan Eskimos migrated freely back and forth across the Bering Sea until Stalin stopped that. Today, visitors, including reporters and photographers, were permitted to go freely, unescorted, anywhere, and to interview. Your visit is useful, he says, to improve our relations. We live here solidly, hopefully, and securely. I can tell you, he says, life here in the north is very difficult, severe. Providenia's mayor, sounding very much like a capitalist, called for joint Alaskan-Siberian ventures. Let's make money here together, he said, with furs and leather. At the port, Alaska's governor proposed U.S. cruise ships be allowed up the fjord to call at Providenia. Good idea, said his Soviet counterpart. And on the street, everyone was talking.
Sooner or later, well, tourists will come to Arctic because Arctic is very exotic.
Youngsters here used to be taught that before the Communist Revolution, American traders plied the Siberian Eskimos with rot-gut liquor and paid them next to nothing for their valuable pelts. Now they're taught at a very early age that most Americans, and particularly Alaskans, are a good and friendly people.
It was long ago.
The biggest surprise of the visit came when an official from Moscow admitted under questioning that the Soviets made a bad mistake by forcing Siberian Eskimos to move from their ancestral villages into the cities, destroying their traditional way of life. Times are changing. Now the hard negotiations begin, aimed at permanently opening this part of the Soviet Union, which has been closed for more than a generation. Terry Drinkwater, CBS News, Providenia, Siberia.
And that's the CBS Evening News. I'm Charles Kuralt, sitting in for Dan Rather. Good night.
Up to $2,000 cash back from Subaru is worth more than the same money from anyone else. It's worth more because Subaru builds a rugged, reliable wagon that's the best-selling import wagon in America. It's worth more because Subaru's XT6 has the same engine design found in a Ferrari or a Porsche.
It's worth more because the Subaru Justy is the lowest-priced four-wheel drive passenger car in America.
Up to $2,000 cash back on a Subaru is worth more because it's on a Subaru.
Ann McKenzie, interior decorator for Endust.
Does your furniture have wax buildup? Well, using spray wax too often can cause wax to build up and trap dirt. Use it only occasionally to polish. For day-to-day cleaning, use Endust. It has no wax buildup. Look, after cleaning your best with spray wax, spray Endust. If your cloth gets dirty, you've got wax buildup. So use spray wax only for occasional waxing. Use Endust for day-to-day cleaning.
All the stars were there that night. My assignment, sneak some photos. I was packing my automatic, the Canon Sure Shot Supreme. She threw me a smile. He threw me his dinner. He missed his shot, but I got mine. Close-up shots, low-light shots. Thanks to my Sure Shot, I got every shot I wanted. And one I didn't want. The Canon Sure Shot Supreme.
Buy any Canon camera, get over $500 in travel savings, and you could win a 1988 Mercury Sable.
I'm Robert Krulwich.
And I'm Faith Daniels. Tomorrow we'll size up potential presidential running mates.
And later this week, Felicia Rashad on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.
Coming up on Eyewitness News, Howard Baker is quitting the White House and coming home to Tennessee. We'll tell you why. And we'll tell you about Fisk University's costly practice of paying bills late or not paying them at all.